tonight is December 16th, 2020. I'm going to be discussing Mitch Hedberg's Mitch Altogether. It's his second album, came out in 2003. I've listened to this album several times in the past. I think Mitch is probably... as of right now, this might be very... I might change my mind later on, but I really do think that Mitch Hedberg is probably my favorite comedian of all time. Like some other comedians that come to mind, you got Dave Chappelle, George Carlin, Chris Rock, Richard Pryor. I could probably, I'm sure I could name... I don't want to name off too many because, honestly, I'll discuss them. I'll talk about them later. So, George Carlin, there's a lot of material there. So, even with Dave Chappelle, there's a lot of material. And I know Dave Chappelle's been... even Mitch has been talked. These are guys that have already been talked about a lot. I'd like to eventually get into people that maybe aren't discussed too much, but regardless, I'm kind of just doing this because I've always admired stand-up comedy, and through my notes, my own notes, kind of figuring out who Mitch Hedberg was. And I'm not going to try to explain the joke too much or anything. I'll get into it. Firstly, I'll just be talking about, I listened to it twice last night. I'm going to listen to it for a third time after I, do all these notes. And because I'm doing this on with a camera now, I have to do it this way because otherwise I normally would have no problem talking, throughout the album, but it'd be indirect commentary anyway. And once again, I'm an amateur. I'm not a fucking professional. I'm learning. I feel like this is kind of like homework in a sense, but anyway, I guess a little background from me myself. When I was younger, and I didn't even realize this, I was kind of more of a church kid, and there was this little talent show thing. It was this winter kind of weekend kind of trip, and they had this big open area for obviously normally they talk it's normal shit, normal religion shit. I can't even fucking think of the details and shit like that, but I remember studying some of Mitch Hedberg's jokes, and I ended up essentially stole his jokes and told them to the crowd, and they laughed their asses off. And I told my brother, who's also pretty... I don't want to out him or anything like that, but he always, he admires comedy just as much as I do, if not maybe more so. But he said, he stole his jokes, and I didn't. Once again, I was almost like, in my eyes, I saw as covering jokes, but obviously... as a little kid, I wasn't I'm just covering the jokes. It was not of ill intention. I wasn't these jokes are mine. If anyone asked, where'd you get those jokes? I'd be I got them from Mitch, who's, at that time, I'm pretty damn sure was deceased by that point. Or actually, maybe not. He actually might have been alive at that point, maybe. That's besides the point. I don't know. Once again, George Carlin's another fantastic person that I felt like. Anyway, I'll get into him later another day. Let's just I guess get right into it. The first half is me. When I listened to it the first time, I just took notes, just general ass notes, kind of just notes how you would take, if you were in class or whatever. Second time around, I listened to punchlines. I don't know if I already just said this, but because I've done this a couple times, I had to retake it. Anyway, second time, just some of my favorite punchlines or whatever. I'm not going to, say why it's funny per se. It's more along the lines of studying mannerisms, studying the wordology, I guess, of it all. And Mitch Hedberg, I feel like, is a pretty good starting point. And the reason why I feel that way is, let's just get into it. I'm going to say it anyway, because, if I get through all this. But let's start off with, even though his presence was mostly lethargic, because often, just from some of the footage that you got to see, and just some of the stories and once again, many people have talked about Mitch Hedberg again, so this is just I'm just kind of regurgitating bullshit here probably by this point, which, obviously might be a little true or whatnot, or just stories. I mean, he came off as a very nervous guy on stage. I mean, when you see some of this footage, he's closing his eyes. He's got his hair in front of his eyes. He's got sunglasses on. He's looking down, not really looking around. And apparently there have been times where, from what I read, that his mic would be shaking unconsciously or whatever. Those are, I guess, direct words from whatever. I'm trying not to pull any Wikipedia entries or anything. This is just literally, once again, you look at some footage of Mitch Hedberg, you can definitely see that sometimes. Sometimes he's actually, he seems very in his skin, very comfortable. And I think, honestly, for the most part, even though his presence was mostly lethargic, he generally seemed very happy being this clown or someone who didn't mind getting paid to make people laugh. And, do you need to be a very sad person to understand humor or whatever? I don't think so, but I do think that, and I didn't know Mitch Hedberg personally, but he did come off as some of the material he came off did seem pretty depressing, and very sad, but very genuine, very real. This guy was very open for the most part, and I'll get into it later, but someone who didn't mind getting paid, and with sadness, just, I think when if you're sad often, one of the few places that I go to when I am sad, sometimes I can't go there because it's just, it's not going to work. But sometimes, I just watch some stand-up comedy and it's real shit. And sometimes it's very depressing, but it's just real and it just makes you laugh and it just makes you, change perspective. Sometimes you're in a very, you're in a slump. You're down in the dumps. Yeah, I don't know. I think humor can really, take that pain away, but it's kind of sad that sometimes some of the saddest people are often the funniest. But I think that does go hand in hand, but I'm not saying that all funny people are sad, because some people come from, fine places and whatnot. And I don't know Mitch Hedberg's past. So, this is just me deciphering the album itself. So, but some things I wrote down was that he had this kind of auth rhythm, mannerisms, or what the fuck does I said mannerisms and it says prawn, I don't know why the fuck. I just stopped finishing that word. Anyway, but just for most comedians, it goes, once again, going hand in hand with, I would say, even musicians, you gotta have this rhythm or beat. Sometimes you gotta rest. Sometimes there's absolutely needs to be some silence, and you could definitely see that through a lot of. Mitch Hedberg was doing that definitively. Definitely sometimes where you just gotta let the crowd think about it and laugh, or just let the crowd laugh, or once again, and jokes often can be immediately. Hit immediately, or they can hit, later on. And once again, I'm just an amateur. This is just a fan. I'm just someone this is just from what I've noticed. And I'm sure, some stuff that I've regurgitated from watching a lot of podcasts, that stand-up comedian podcasts. Anyway, but, some of this is, kind of putting two and two together. It's kind of, it seems simple, kind of seems obvious. Finds flaws in daily unthought speech, I wrote, because just kind of the phrase about, do you realize what you say? Once again, if you go on Wikipedia, a lot of it you can see is just he's deadpan, he's I don't know, there's other fucking phrases or whatever. I'd say he's dry, wacky, zany, breezy, lighthearted. I really wrote, he's kind of anti-profound. It's so funny. He's got sometimes when he's, there's sometimes where he's nervous, but and I think that part of that nervousness kind of really, works with his set, with his jokes and whatnot. I think I think in some ways it did, obviously did hurt him in some ways, because if he was more confident and stuff like that, but I think if he was more confident, his comedy would be different for sure. And I think that once again, he realized who he was, and he worked on that. He worked off of that. And maybe he did work on it, but I'm sure he worked, anyway. But I wrote, he seems like the sleek spy, just with this confidence of sorts. I mean, like, once again, not always super confident, but he did have this. He did definitely seem like he was confident in his I guess life choice of wanting to tell jokes. Like, he definitely had a confidence there. He might have been nervous going on stage in front of people, but it's a different. It's obviously all a part of all with performing, but telling jokes on stage, you essentially being a mouthpiece are kind of two different things. I mean, like, 'cause you can just be a mouthpiece and you're literally just telling what other jokes. Well, you're telling what people have written for you, which I guess late night show hosts are often the case of that. But it's because you could be a very funny person, but like to be able to express such, it can be very difficult, especially if, amongst a lot of people. Not always the case. But anyway, he seemed like a sleek spy, but he had like water cooler gossip. His joke equation has a similar logic to a layman's terms, broken down and assessed in real time. He's got this revolutionary voice, but it's in anti-profoundness or unprofound. It's just very it's just like, instead of asking the big questions, he's just like, I can't give some examples right now because I don't know. I wish I did this right after I listened to it twice, but I was pretty fucking tired. Maybe I'll give some better examples later on. Once again, I think the second half might be a little better because I'll be talking about, once again, specific punchlines. But this is just what I took note of, and you can agree or disagree. So he says what he wishes he could really say, which, once again, I feel like that comes off from that nervousness. Same kind of laziness someone has to complete a task faster. It's like, I think it was Steve Jobs who said, like, you should hire the lazy person, a lazy smart person, because they'll get the job done faster and easier. Because they just, they're fucking lazy, but they're also, they want to it's, a problem that they feel they have to solve. But realizes what frustrates him, could be perceived or give off as weak. Best to joke about it. Oh shit, I fucked that up. And honestly, it sucks when I'm fucking like reading off of it. I'm not really. But realizes what frustrates him, could be perceived as weak. Best to joke about it to give off the perception it's no big deal. So it kind of it's in that. I mean, if I'll say it again, but hopefully a lot better. But essentially, it's that perspective of like, don't let the bully know that it hurts you or that you're frustrated, because if the outside knows that, they'll take advantage of that situation or make fun of you or whatever. But once again, realizes what frustrates him, could be perceived as weak. Best to joke about it to give off perception it's not a big deal. A lot of meta thinking, a lot of venting, laughing at small details, really small details, really frustrated by communication. You can definitely, I watched Survivor. This is really off tangent, but not really. But there was one season where they do brains, brawn, and beauty. And essentially beauty was kind of like not only, your looks and whatnot, but also communication, essentially. Brains obviously was kind of problem solving for the most part. But at the very beginning of the season, they kept on getting like knocked out one by one because they couldn't communicate with each other well enough. And I feel like, once again, Mitch Hedberg was really frustrated by communication because he couldn't really communicate maybe his feelings or how he really felt and whatnot to the best of his ability. Once again, I don't know Mitch Hedberg personally, so this is just what I saw based on, I guess, what I heard, if that makes any sense. And once again, I've known of Mitch Hedberg for at least, at least a decade at least. But like, once again, I'm not like the number one Mitch Hedberg fan. I haven't read, I'm sure there's books about him, but I've not read any of them. Once again, don't know about his past and whatnot. Just from what I've seen and a little bit of what I've heard. The only way to truly want is to pick it apart. Oh, no, excuse me. The only way to truly vent is to pick it apart. I wrote absurd or absurdity, which he does, Oh, okay, I'll get into that a little bit more. But once again, really frustrated by communication. The only way to truly vent is to pick it apart. Laughing at small details. Not so much outrageous, but, I mean, because he's not really, like, it's outrageous, but it's like this, once again, like a very light, it's like a lighter version of outrage. It's kind of like this convenient, it's breezy, it's lighthearted. Once again, I wrote zany, lethargic, absurd, eccentric, wacky, dry, goofy, and a lot of these even are kind of like, I'd say, lighter than what those even imply. It just, once again, there was profoundness in this unprofound suggestion, I guess he had, or message he had. And it kind of just like, it made you think, like, is this guy, I mean, was this guy really frustrated asking a question like, is there meaning to life, or did he never really think, was that something he thought about at one point and kind of gave up, or just like, what it is, and I don't know, I just kind of started thinking about the smaller stuff, just like, what's funny, or what's funny to him. I definitely think he definitely locked in on what he thought was funny to him. There were plenty of times where he would laugh literally at his own jokes on stage. No one else would laugh, and he'd be like, man, maybe I should add some canned laughter for that moment. There was often a theme with the wordplay. He would play out a scenario, which would remind me of comics that play out sketches. Like Dave Chappelle is a pretty good example of someone who can tell a joke and kind of tell this story that really didn't happen, but like it just sounds so real. And it's also fucking, there's a point to it. There's a message to it. He's willing to be vulnerable because he knows he's a clown. Because humans are clowns. I mean, I guess that's pretty pretentious of a fucking note right there. Mentions depression, the elephant in the room, yet the jokes deter from from painful reality. Which I felt like a lot of times he did do that. He would literally, I think one example is, I don't want to out my spot or whatever, but the USPS or UPS driver is a drug dealer and he doesn't even know. And there are plenty of times where he kind of just like, he'll say this and it's like that elephant room, like, holy shit, he just said something. And like another moment where he's talking about the 13th floor of hotels, and maybe even apartments, but like it's like when you're on the 14th floor, you know what floor you're really on. If you jump out of a building, which is kind of, he's mentioning suicide, you'll die faster. So it's just like, it's humor, and once he immediately deters from it, but like it's just like, it's almost like he just like quickly flashes you, some shock image, and then just but like it's not really that shocking. I mean, it is shocking, but like it's menacing, I would say, but like there's definitely just like this huge, lighthearted, lethargic, but sometimes not often. I don't know. That's all I guess I can say about that feeling to it. Helpless demeanor, acceptance of a clownish, sad fate, which is a very dark way of saying it, but I guess like for overdosing, and you gotta be. I don't know, man. Especially. One thing before I get into the joke half, which I'm going to take a little break, but, this is a man, from what I do know, like in how he explained it, he often just seemed like he was just always in his hotel apartment, or his hotel room or motel room, waiting to go on stage, and, essentially pass the time he would use. I mean, I think he apparently died of an overdose of heroin and cocaine. So, he had to find something to pass the time, I guess. But like he was definitely very dedicated to his dream and passion. And the saddest thing is like, it's very hard to prove that sometimes. But at the other side, obviously he could have, he wrote, one thing I didn't even know about is he directed, wrote, and acted in a movie, that he made in 1999. I just watched half of it, Los Enchiladas. It's got like Dave Attell, Todd Barry, and a couple other people. And it kind of reminds me of Waiting. If you've ever seen that thing that came out in 2005 or whatever, I think it had Ryan Reynolds in it, I believe. I can't remember the other guy's name. He was he's actually one of my favorite actors, and I just can't remember his name right now because I feel like I guess I'm an asshole. Anyway, terrible names, but I don't know where am I going with that. Just fucking, I don't know. I guess it's just best to end it and kind of move on to the next section because I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess I was getting at, like, he definitely, he made a movie already. I mean, like, and I remember one thing he says, like, when you get into Hollywood and you're a really funny guy, they expect, like, can you write, can you act, blah, 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 blah. And, I think he just wanted to be, he wrote, I think if you've made your own movie, I don't know, I think you at least probably wanted to make a movie. It kind of reminded me of, like, Clerks and, like I said, Waiting. I have yet to finish it, and I'll probably talk about it later at another date. But this guy was definitely a creative force. He definitely was very profound, even though, once again, it was very unprofound. It was, I wouldn't want to say a revolutionary voice, but he was very beatnik. But, like, normally, like, that beatnik style that kind of always came off as kind of serious or whatever, this cool seriousness. Like, he kind of had a coolness to him, but he was very not serious, clearly. The next half, man, is just me talking about jokes or punchlines that I felt like that some of my favorite ones that I came up in, which there were a fucking lot of them. I was running out of space to write them, and I just had to write punchlines instead of the whole joke. And I don't want to say the whole joke anyway. And once again, I'm not going to try to explain why it's funny. I just, anyway, and after that, I'll probably just listen to it one more time. If there's any other, thing to say at the end, and then that'll be that. But, all right. Okay. All right. Now's the time to this is the punchline section, where I'm definitely going to be quoting Mitch a couple times, more than a couple. There's no particular order here. Like I said, I started running out of space, so I had to start fucking taking whatever space I could take. Some of these jokes, there were like 4 of the same theme. Like he had 4 jokes about the number 13. We'll get into it. Okay, so here's one of his jokes. My fake plants died because I did not pretend to water them. And once again, if I don't give the mannerism and stuff, once again, on face value, the words alone, if you don't say them right, not very funny. Especially if you don't, if you're on a stage, you don't say it right. That's a very important feature for being a stand-up comedian. You can't just be telling jokes or writing jokes. Otherwise, you're just a writer, a joke writer. To actually say your jokes, a joke teller, a storyteller. There wasn't too many stories. If he didn't mention any stories, they were once again kind of like seemed like more or less like improv-y story, kind of stories he made up. But not, I'm sure there are some moments where things that actually did happen to him, as I'll get into. Or maybe not, I don't know. But I'm not even going to explain, because it's just, once again, my fake plants died because I did not pretend to water them. And, I don't want to have to explain a fucking joke, I really don't. But he's definitely playing on wordplay. There's no doubt about in that joke. I'll just leave it at that. And this is another little punchline. Build a go-kart with my ex-landlord, which, that was when he was referring to, he likes to, I think he says he likes to sleep, but he hates to dream because dreams often end up going, like I said, building up a go-kart with my ex-landlord, in which I don't think I'm explaining the joke here. Maybe I am, I don't know. Maybe I'm fucking being blasphemous, I don't know. I hope not. But, I don't know, that's kind of a quirky moment, we all have fucking weird-ass dreams, and he was able to, as a wordsmith, decipher a fair enough line and, once again, say it in his way, in the way he says his thing, and, in my opinion, I thought it's fucking hilarious. And once again, like, I'm just saying the words. I'm not fucking acting them out for, I mean, so it might take away from it or whatever, but maybe later on I'll come up with a better system as to how to discuss a comedy album, but I do feel like this is at least a decent, kind of just, once again, breaking it down, I guess, but not, I don't want to give away the magic, but I do feel like I am partially, or maybe totally. When I put Listerine in my mouth, I'm fucking angry. That's just fuck. And he's talking, and the next line's like, germs don't go away without a fight. Just once again, just the way his mannerisms, and once again the words. Okay, so sometimes, like, once again, you could say a phrase. You can write a phrase out, and once again, if you don't say it properly, it's not funny. But then there's sometimes where it's like, it doesn't matter how you fucking say it, it's pretty, I mean, most likely, it's pretty fucking funny. When I put Listerine in my mouth, I'm fucking angry. That just, once again, it's so small, it's such a small little thing, and it honestly probably covers up, like, he probably does, I mean, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I feel like I'm a pretty angry person underneath it all, even though I'm not, maybe I don't show it or whatever. But I feel like Mitch might be the same way. And once again, I don't know Mitch, so it just, I don't know. Maybe he's just a very lighthearted person all the time. Once again, he's jokes and joking, and jokes often could have no truth at all to him. Maybe they do, but sometimes they don't at all. One way I could get my old CD in a store is if I would take one in and leave it, which I mean, that's so depressing. That's so fucking sad. Once again, like, to be, he was able to complete something that he always wanted to complete, a passion project like that. And yet, still, like, the only way people would take it, and I mean, he says later in this store, or not, in this CD, the second CD, he's like, now they're putting out, you're going to find them in stores or whatever. But my last CD, though, the one that I'll get into, Strategic Grill Locations, he's like, anyway, it's sad, but it's, it's, and there's a patheticness to it, but it's very fucking funny. And he's like, he's able to make fun of himself for sure. But he's also, in ways, you're also kind of learning a little bit about Mitch. I'm sure you've learned about, maybe not, I could be wrong, but you do feel like you kind of learn about these people as they, as what they say, because clearly, it's their opinions, and, it's the words that they decide to say on a stage to the public, which a lot of times can be, they don't actually mean it, because it's just a joke. In which, I guess it doesn't matter. I'm not going to continue the full, I don't want to say his entire joke there, but that was just I would say part of the, see, like, once again, like, I'm still, I guess, new at this, decipher, what a punchline is compared to, the actual meat of it. Punchline is just, like, normally a statement. That's what gets people to laugh. And I felt like, in this case, only way I could get my old CD in a store is if I would take it in and leave it. But he continued out the scenario, in the, sir, you forgot this. No, I did not. That is for sale. Please alphabetize it. And once again, I didn't say it properly, but I remixed the remix, and it went back to normal or whatever. I didn't write that one all the way through. 3 easy payments and 1 complicated one. The mailman will get shot to death, and there's a couple other things, like your letter won't be sealed properly, and the stamp will not be efficient. Just fucking, once again, like, this little kind of bullshit, small little, like, not even unimportant thing, something you probably just watched on TV, and it's just kind of like venting about how fucking annoying, advertisements can be. But also showing, like, tragedy of real life and whatnot, because, like, life is not easy. It's not just 3 easy payments. It's often, there might be 3 easy payments, but there's always that 1 complicated one. I was supposed to go to, this is another punchline. I was supposed to go to 2,000 houses or 2 dumpsters. He's referring to when he was younger, he used to deliver newspapers as a boy. So he could have been joking. Maybe he didn't actually do that as a kid. I honestly could see it as either way. I don't know if it's really necessarily important if he did or did not, but I do think that could have been real because I mean, I do think that to come up with a kind of a joke or that kind of perspective, you probably had to be there to think like I was supposed to go to 2,000 houses or 2 dumpsters, which I don't know. Maybe maybe a kid said that I was supposed to do 2,000 houses, but I just go to 2 dumpsters. I mean, who knows how he comes up with this? I mean, who knows how that joke came about anyway? But I mean, it could have actually been from experience. Okay. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. I mentioned the UPS or USPS driver. He's a drug dealer and he doesn't even know it. I will pull out a lime. He was referring to how he noticed in one of his drinks. He noticed that his lime was floating. He says, next time on a ship and it's sinking, I'll pull out a lime. And he said, I'll be saved by the buoyancy of citrus. And the reason why I'm kind of like sighing as I'm fucking saying this, because once again, I feel like I'm taking away the magic by just kind of even saying his words. I mean, his fucking spell, his humor spell. I mean, once again, I feel like it's so lame to, say that, but it's just so, dude, just like, there's magic to it, man. It's just, once again, to notice is such a small little thing. I will pull out a lime and I'll be saved by the buoyancy of citrus, which is totally, clearly it won't happen, but it's still like, and, once again, maybe it's like kind of portraying like his perspective of, how, he believes that maybe comedy is his lime, he'd be saved by the buoyancy of comedy. This is, sounds like fucking like, fuck you, you're an asshole, you pretentious piece of shit. I'm just like, just what I think maybe. He could just, he's just trying to be lighthearted, funny, not even fucking, just this very unprofound, just something he noticed and just, once again, just trying to be funny. You got the DoubleTree one. Do not disturb. Excuse me, sorry. Wait, I don't spit or anything. My fucking think I'm okay. You never know, man. Or snot or anything. Anyway, sorry, excuse me. Do not disturb. He wants to wear one so that like when his nephew comes up to him and goes, knock knock, he says, read the sign, punk. I mean, he had 2 fucking do not disturb jokes. I mean, like a lot of these, it's kind of just in terms of figuring out your game plan, I guess, on stage. And once again, I'm an amateur. I'm not a fucking coach. This is just my 2 cents here from what I've noticed. I've only been on stage and did comedy stand-up comedy a couple times myself. I'd love to do it way more, and I'm going to once when the pandemic's over. Besides the point. As well as other things. But what am I getting here? Where are we? Okay, yeah. The do not disturb sign, like just like figuring out where to go next and whatnot. If you can come, I mean, like it doesn't have to always be this way because he didn't do this always himself, Mitch. Sometimes he'd do one joke on a subject, then he'd move on to another subject. But sometimes he'd stay on a subject. Like once again, the number 13. I'll get into that in literally 1 second. Yeah, here we go. B looks like a scrunched up 13. What is your name? Bob, get the fuck away. And once again, the way he says it, way funnier than how I just said it. Kind of once again implying that just because you write something doesn't mean that it's funny. You have to also fucking say it a certain way. Jump out the window. You'll die early. That was once again referring to the 13th floor. He talks about Target a couple of times, and he just practicing at Target, like going into the store. He said there should be like human splats all around the fucking store. It's just, really fucking stupid, really funny. I mean, in my opinion, really just kind of like very dry. It's honestly very British, deadpan, very kind of humor, excuse me. And he says, "What the fuck is a sesame? It's a street." Let's go that way. I don't remember that joke. It's a way to open shit. Yeah. It's a street. It's a way to open shit. And then once again, another fucking. I know I'm jumping all over the place. I'm sorry. But another joke, which I felt was just like once again very. I don't want to say, I guess, random. It was once in that light outrageousness. He's like referring once again back to the number 13. He's number 14 is speaking. Me divided by 2 is 7. All right, I was with 13. And it's just, once again, way he says it, way fucking funnier. Just in that kind of joke. I mean, once again, this is just what I'm just doing this just to, I guess. I mean, once again, if no one else is listening, and it's just me kind of figuring out, once again, just the game plan on like how to write jokes. And I've written, I don't know, I've written a lot of jokes myself. I mean, once again, whether they're funny or not, I gotta get them on stage and whatnot. But I've definitely laughed at some of them, at least more than some. But anyway, it's not about me. So it looks like the fan is saying no, and then he kind of plays out the scenario how how fans oscillate and it looks like they're just shaking their head. I will not make a banana bread pastrami cottage cheese sandwich that will severely ruin my reputation. I'm not gonna lie. I think I read that he started in Florida, but then like when things started to like pick up, I think he moved to Seattle, Washington, and started touring regularly. And I don't know, I just for some reason it kind of does remind me of like 10 or 20 years later how like some of that comedy in the I guess upper west portion of the United States, their kind of humor can be. I mean, like Portlandia, for example, and all that. You get the homemade Sprite, club sandwich, but he's not even a member, which is once again wordplay. You went to a pizza shop and they gave him the smallest slice possible, saying if it was on a chart, you got the donated to charity slice, which once again, very fucking funny. Just also showing how like life can be very unfair, just because, I mean, like you should, once again, if you're buying a slice of pizza should be even as the other sides, but once again, it's just, life is unnatural. Well, naturally, I guess imperfect, or the guy could have been a dickhead, who knows, or but that's life often. And then he said no, eventually it'll be a core, referring to an apple. I think he was talking about with wine and like don't you hate the part where that the headache at, the very ending. And he's like, if I didn't like the end of something, then I wouldn't do anything. He's like, I enjoy the beginning and the middle part. So I mean, it does kind of explain like how he had at least the confidence to get up on stage, at least in my opinion. I feel like he's not literally writing these jokes to go like, this is who I am as a human being. It's just how. It just, I don't know. Just I think he's expressing himself. I mean, I think everyone expresses their personality through their jokes, I'm sure. Maybe not always. Some people can impersonate or have a character on stage. I bought 8 apples. You got to bag them up. Just once again, the mannerisms in that. Because some people ask sometimes, not even thinking, they'll ask a stupid question like, "Do you want a bag?" when someone has 8 apples, and it's like, well, what do you fucking think? A giraffe with a sore throat. Once again, a really huge throat, and like imagining having a sore throat. Sore throats suck. I'm like just getting over it. So, and he, the way he said, God damn it all, or something like that. I can't remember, but it's just once again mannerism, fucking just funny as fuck. Referring to chainsaw juggling, he's like, it's awesome, but at the same time, he's like, come on, Rick, can we use one? Shiny and more noticeable, talking about having a cold sore. Once again, revealing, something very real and often, a very taboo thing to talk about. Something you wouldn't, you can get easily made fun of, or like, people be repulsed by you, with having. So I mean, and it's not, once again, also the USPS, when you're revealing that you do drugs and stuff, that can really repulse the audience, because there's some people who are against drugs. Throw the ball at Jimmy. Look at his feet. I don't remember that joke. I don't remember that one. Hey, going to the top soon. That one's referring to mountain climbing, and there's a base camp, and he would love to just be at the base camp. And there, so, this scenario of someone going, "Hey, you going to the top soon? Or are you going to the top?" And he's like, "Soon." Which once again I think indirectly kind of referred to once again his lifestyle choices. I was gonna get my teeth whitened, but I decided to get a tan instead. Fucking hilarious. Just fucking hilarious, man. And once again, it's just like the lazy route to go, and it's just like, but it's like, I'm sick of following my dreams. I'm gonna ask where they're going and catch up with them later. That's fucking funny. I don't have to dip my fish sticks in shit because I have so much tartar in between my teeth, which once again a very disgusting joke. I'd like to go fishing and catch a fish stick. Put me on a boat with some empty boxes. Kit Kat bars rob you of chocolate. Referring to Reese's peanut butter cups, the candy bar is his, and he's like, if he comes up to you, you gotta let him have it. He says, "I'm sorry, Reese's, you're a fucking bully, man. Let me just have a piece." And once again, mannerism fucking fun. I mean, I know for a fact, once again, by this point, I'm just, I feel like a dickhead just reciting punchlines and whatnot, but like, clearly there's so many jokes and there's so many avenues to go down, and it's not like he always did, it wasn't always wordplay, sometimes there was, sometimes he'd reveal something real about himself, but had to, sometimes with sadness or pain or, whatever, elephant in the room, sometimes you gotta, lighten the room up immediately after not always, sometimes it would really not help, but, it's kind of like soften the blow, I guess. And he's talking about he wants to own McDonald's where like they don't end up selling cheeseburgers. Like, nope, but we got spaghetti. If you want to talk to me after the show, I'll be fucking surprised. Once again, the way he says that, and once again, it's very sad, but at the same time, like, it's just. I don't know, you have to be at a certain stage in life to be able to say something like that. I'm sure you honestly probably could have said that, even like, up until, I guess. Just joking, because he's, obviously by that point, I think like 2008, I don't know I can't remember when he passed, but I know the last album he put out was 2008, I believe. But and that could have been posthumously. I doubt it. But anyway, just do you want to make it? Okay, man, I wrote this fucking like chicken scratch, man. I have a king size bed. I don't know any kings, but I have a king size bed. I don't know any kings, but if I were to come over, if he were to come over, he would be comfortable. And the other one, once again going in the same theme of beds, he said, when I was a boy, I laid on my twin size bed, wondering where my brother was. Fucking, it's funny as fuck. Once again, the way he says it, I'm just fucking listing off jokes here. This is just like analysis shit right here. I feel like, so if you're not into this, I can understand why you'd want to check out. Honestly, just listen to fucking some Mitch, just listen to fucking the album instead of this, man. But I don't know. I think it's not a bad idea to just kind of like just talk about, just breaking down some of the stuff. If you find yourself lost in the woods, build a house. This is fucking, which is real as fuck. It's just, then you're no longer lost. He was making fun of, the South, how they get rid of, for y'all. He says, I need to get to the FX, of the Setha, which once again, just straight up bashing fucking, communication and just mannerisms and stuff like that. Just kind of the ridiculousness of speech and whatnot. It's how ridiculous it is to be able to talk to people, because just even with the English language, there's so much different dialect. It's almost like you're speaking a different language. Not literally, when you're just saying y'all, but Anyway, he talks about crazy straws, but he has the straws that he's using are sane. I mean, just one's the way he says it. It's just fucking funny. You need to let me know. Don't go see Dr. Acula. I mean, I do like Gatorade. You can be just a thirsty dude. Snack, crackle, Mitch and Pop. Hey, Peter Frampton, do you like toast too? Once again, just with the Peter Frampton one, just to communicate with someone that I mean, he's not, I don't know. I think he said he was not even the hugest fan of Peter Frampton. He didn't really know much of his music, so he had to kind of like communicate with him somehow. Once again, showing like how shitty the communication he can be, especially with strangers and strangers that isn't strangers, especially that are well known, but you just happen to not know anything about them. It's kind of like it is kind of a funny situation to be in when of someone and they know that that they're kind of well known, they're a public figure, but yet there are some people out there that just still don't know them. So if you're put into that kind of situation, it's like how do you fucking deal with that situation, especially if the person that doesn't know you, if you are, I can't even fucking, it's such a complicated fucking, so complicated. I mean, once again, I know I'm explaining the joke here by this point, I bet. Fuck. Ducks eat for free at Subway. Subway out of your jurisdiction. He was referring to being in Ireland, and he'd fuck with some Irish people, but then he'd run to Subway, and he'd be like, this ridiculous. Like, didn't even make, I mean, it technically wouldn't make sense, because obviously Subway, just because Subway's, was made in America, it's still Ireland, and the guy would, it's, he's obviously, he's, joking, playing stupid, and, it's just a stupid joke. But it's funny, stupid. Didn't even get his degree. Talking about Dr. Pibb or Mr. Pibb. Travel to the top of the corners of the map so it won't fall down. I mean, I think that's pretty much it. Once again, now I've broken down the entire fucking thing. I mean, honestly, once again, you could have probably just like Googled some of this stuff, or once again, listen to it yourself, and pick out the jokes that you think that are funny. And once again, the reason why I'm doing this is not to like I'm gonna grade or rate out of 10 or grade like 8 of F or whatever. I'm not gonna do any of that shit. Just to talk about it, and mostly, once again, the reason why I do this, any of these in the first place, whether it's a music or an album cover. Or, an album for music, or an album for comedy, a book, a comic book, movie, what have you. It's just to kind of just talk about it, I guess, critique in some ways. I mean, I don't really have anything. I mean, clearly, if he was not as nervous, I think his comedy would be in his just his person, his persona on stage, and once again, just his person would be very, even the comedy would be very different. It was, I mean, honestly, kind of, it was like shaky comedy, but like, it was not, he wasn't always nervous. Sometimes he felt very in his, in place, in his skin. You could definitely tell. And it just, it does kind of show, that, even though he was afraid, he still did it anyway. That takes a lot of courage in itself. Is it enough? I mean, in my opinion, Mitch Hedberg is a pretty well-known name in the comedy game. I'm sure not every single comic knows Mitch Hedberg, but, he's definitely one of those underground names. I would say like another band that, is a pretty good example. I mean, I guess music-wise would be Suicide. So crazy, man. I heard 2 fucking songs. I think maybe Gap, or it's so crazy that they're using a song by Suicide. 2 of them. I think one of them was a cover, but one of them was Cherie. The other one was like a cover of Dream Baby Dream. Besides the point, if you look deep enough, this is. It sucks that once again, he couldn't be here longer, because he definitely would have continued making, just one more perspective, that's for sure. Just one more perspective. Just one more interest, when instead of thinking about the big things, he thought about the small things. And just, I don't know, what is there to think about? It's whatever the fuck you want it there to be. I mean, you could. Anyway, I'm gonna listen to I'm gonna listen to Mitch all together one more time, and then just if there's any other things I want to talk about, I'll just say it, and that'll be that. So, yeah. Okay, so I just finished listening to it for a third time in the last, I guess, probably 24 hours, maybe less. So I don't know. Probably, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Regardless, it doesn't matter. I guess one of the last jokes that just kind of like popped out that I forgot. I'm pretty sure I wrote it down, but I just forgot to mention. But the fish screaming in the ocean bit, that's fucking hilarious too. I guess final words. If I had to give some negative criticism, I guess just like, I guess on a personal level, I've tried like cocaine at least probably a dozen times or so. I never really liked it because of the antsy feeling. I had some friends that were really into it. The reason why I did some of these things, I never bought any of it. The reason why I did these things was because I just want to know what the fuck, like what's the feeling, like why. I guess it could be a bad thing to, curiosity can kill the cat, or whatever. But he hypothetically, from what I read, Mitch died from an overdose of heroin and cocaine. If he had beaten, obviously it's like, if he was never under the influence in that regard, and he didn't drink as well, like he definitely clearly have a different perspective. So it's kind of like sad. It's like that catch-22, the double-edged sword or whatever. I use hash oil all the time, and I know for a fact there's some consequences to it for sure. Even short-term memory loss, that can be a terrible conversation killer. Just not even like, just abruptly, just not even remember where the fuck. Sometimes not remember where you are, but like not remembering your place and what you're talking about in general. And I couldn't help but notice that, he did slur at times, and he probably was drunk. Once again, it probably had to do more along the fact of, just being very nervous, stage fright and all that. Once again, it can be very overwhelming. Even when it's been a long time since I've been on stage, and once again, primarily because of the pandemic. If pandemic wasn't problem, I'd probably be on stage. Maybe, obviously, from what I've been, listening to and stuff, like, you gotta be on stage like fucking pretty much every night if you really want to even call yourself an open micer in general, which, I guess that might be gatekeeping, but I do believe there's definitely something to it, because Mitch Hedberg, as funny as he is, he pushed himself to get to where he is, and clearly, if he was a little bit more confident, sure, he'd probably get some more things, probably. But, once again, like his mannerisms, the way he said things. There were two jokes where, like, the way he said it. Like the moment, just like just that offbeat, off rhythm kind of mannerism, that speech. It's I don't know. He truly was his own. So, I guess, once again, for all the things that I guess I'm even criticizing, which I guess I don't want to be that guy, and I guess, I've now put myself, I didn't want to be that guy, so I didn't have to say it, but, I guess, clearly, dickhead, it's like dickhead, he died of, he maybe couldn't even help himself, he's a dick, he could have been addicted. Obviously, I'm sure he fucking was, I would say there's definitely a level of, addiction to even, hash oil or whatever. Even cannabis. I was gonna say comedy or cannabis. But comedy, stand-up comedy going on. There's a certain addiction to getting people to laugh, because it's like, if you're doing what you want to do and you're actually like succeeding at that, I'm sure there's that's like a priceless feeling in itself. Like you're on the right path. It makes you feel like you're on the right path. Overall, once again, like, that I felt like it was a pretty wonderful album. I felt like it was recorded well, mixed pretty well. I guess the other thing I guess I would criticize is, like, if only if he had more time, maybe he would be able to expand upon, or maybe he'd just always be, because like another person like Dimitri Martin, I believe. Is it Dimitri Martin? I can't remember his last name is Martin, but I would say, Dimitri, at least I know his first name. He kind of like has a very similar. He is himself, and there's very quirky and stuff. But like I would say he kind of built a box for himself and kind of never really got out of it. And I talked about this with with bands and stuff like that. They end up like becoming like they come up with their own sound, like Red Hot Chili Peppers, for example. And once again, they're fantastic, at their job. Like they came up with the equation essentially for what they want to sound like. And you eventually find yourself in this box, and it can be very hard to get out of it. But the thing is, like, do you really want to even leave it? So in that terms, like, Mitch was a guy who generally didn't talk about, I guess, necessarily the big picture. And if he did, it was like for a moment before, deterring onto something else to spotlight on, which is often, once again, a very small theme. But I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know if there's really anything else to say. I still want to talk about strategic grow locations, as well as oh my gosh, or I believe, I can't remember. I don't remember. I had to look at my phone. My phone's recording this, so I'll talk about it later anyway. So I'm honestly probably gonna watch or rewatch from the beginning Las Enchiladas. Once again, that's a 1999 movie that Mitch Hedberg wrote, directed, and acted in, starred in. It's if you like Clerks and if you like that movie Waiting, it's pretty reminiscent of kind of the two. There's definitely some jokes that Mitch say that kind of, once again, just get you. If you like his comedy, you probably will like it. I mean, it's not, obviously like fucking Emmy worthy or Grammy worthy or whatever, but not that like those fucking need to even be a part of the equation. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I hate the fact that I just pretty much read off of the notes, but it wasn't exactly fresh in my mind. But I feel like I pretty much said everything that needs to be said, and I feel like, honestly, for the most part, if I were to do strategic grill location as well as, I can't remember, I'm pretty sure it's Oh My Gosh, I can't remember what it is, or just Gosh, I can't remember, but it says 2008 is the last album he put out. I don't know. I mean, like, will he really? Has he? I mean, like, that though. This second album is 2003, and Strategic Girl Location is 1999, which I believe has a bassist accompanying him. Which kind of on one side is kind of really cool, but another side it can be like, it's like, I kind of just wish it was just you, Mitch. But at the same time, though, it's like it's a one-time thing. It's kind of like, if anything, like how you see like a live performance. If anything, even though it is already a live performance, it's like how bands will have, studio albums and they'll have live performances. Even though, just in terms of stand-up comedy, of course, it's going to be live for the most part, of course. So, but it's just kind of asking the question, like, how much did he really change in 4 years? Or, I don't know, maybe it's only a couple years in between. And then, from 2003, this album, Mitch altogether, to, I think it's like Oh My Gosh or whatever. I feel like a dickhead not even remembering it, because I looked at it a couple times. I mean, I've listened to it already a number of times, but anyway, for the most part, I feel like in my opinion, I feel like I did a pretty good job kind of just describing who Mitch is and was. I know I definitely didn't say all the jokes right, and once again, I think the most important thing is, like, once again, like, you can write a joke, you can write something that's funny, or you can write something and, the way you say it can make it funny. The referring to, I remember that the Jimmy one was, throw the ball at Jimmy. You want me to throw the ball at Jimmy? You want me to put some goggles on and look at his feet, and referring to, above ground pools. He's like, I can't even draw my kneecaps in this. There's definitely a lot of wit to it, a very lazy wit to it. But I'll leave it at that. If you made it this far, thanks for listening. Once again, I'm not doing this just to, I don't know, I'm doing this to study, because I don't want to be a carbon copy of Mitch Hedberg. I don't want to, but like, to study what's come before you, I don't think is a bad idea. Thanks for listening. thanks for watching. Whatever, both. Hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, let me know, or don't. I don't give a fuck. Take care. Otherwise, and that's take care. I don't fucking know.